For 3.5 years, every time I have a sniffle near you, you point at me and you say COVID.
Yeah, well, you have some sniffles going on right now.
I do. I have some coughs. Everybody on the trip I was on ended up getting sick but me, and I now am feeling a little bit sick. But why is it that you're scared of me? I don't know how well we can do everything we do every day if you think I should get a COVID test. And what are the new rules on COVID tests? Because this just happened to me this morning. Like I was coming out of the house and I just felt like garbage.
Are you asking for my feelings about you in general, or?
I'm asking as it relates to today's show and going forward, you being around the possibility of sickness.
I'm not going to be around it. I don't want to get COVID. I'm upset at you for not testing yet for COVID. You should get a test right now, and if you don't get a test, I'm going to leave. I mean,
what are the rules on that? What are the
I think
rules?
A good rule is if you wonder aloud into a microphone, if you have COVID, you have a social responsibility and one to your coworkers to now get tested.
But I didn't.
Especially with the
2 days
context
ago.
of,
Yeah.
Everyone in my group got sick.
Yeah.
Well, the group tested and nobody had COVID. It was some sort of coughing African strain of something.
There is a summer strain going around. The current president of the United States is sequestered because he has COVID.
He is. I touched your pen, man.
Okay, so I need you today, though. So you're going to just leave now? You're going to, so that I can end up in this quarantined bubble studio by myself?
To be honest, you should be the one that leaves, but you're not going to do that. So, yes, I am going to leave. The C in COVID stands for see ya.
Okay, there he goes. He is leaving. Stugotz doesn't want to have anything to do with the program anymore. But this is a bit symbolic because Stugotz is also flirting with WFAN again.
Next week, Dano. I'm taking phone calls.
What are you shaking your head about, Billy?
That I'm just hearing this now on air for the first time.
No.
Yes, and I've asked multiple times, can you send me your schedule? And the response I always get is, I send it to Chris and Carl. And I'm like, but can you send it to me? Because I have to record with you.
Jeremy has it as well. He can forward it to you.
Yeah, how about you just send it to me?
Okay.
And not to everybody else. And, by the way, this is the first I'm hearing it from him because Taylor, who listens to WFAN every day, told me a week and a half ago they announced that Stugotz is going to be co-hosting again in July. And I go, when's that happening? Because July only has a couple weeks left.
Contract year.
Billy, and I'm glad you're here, Mike, and Chris, Cody, all three of you can actually have a commentary on this because you saw from a unique perspective the way that Stugotz tried to slide around all the faux discipline of Mike when Chris Whittingham arrived. And Whittingham was made crazy by all of this, that Stugotz would tell people who would say yes to things and not tell people who would say no to things. And that's how he would slippery around.
Why go to people who are going to say no? You don't sound good, by the way.
I know.
Why go to people who are going to say no? You go to the people, you find out who the people are who are going to say yes, you go to them to get a yes, you know?
But Billy is your
Thank
teammate, and you own God Bless Football together, and he's been doing it for weeks without you. He had to summon Lorenzo, God help us all, last week.
That was a good episode. Thanks for checking it out. It was fun, little reunion.
He had to summon Charlie Kravitz, Lorenzo, the old gang of people you go to when Stugotz can't be counted on.
Gang was back together, yeah.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution.
Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the.
I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
It really is too bad that Stugotz has decided to flee the studio because I believe he would have enjoyed this particular conversation. An oldie but a goodie. LeBron versus MJ. The only reason I bring it up, and I know it's tired and lazy to bring up the Cowboys and LeBron, what's the third one this time of year that you could go to when it's the slowest day of the sports year?
We don't care about baseball enough anymore to fix it.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Jeremy does care about baseball that way. I have a renewed interest in baseball.
Or did they fix it and we're just like, well, that didn't do it.
Our job here is done.
We thought it might.
Fix it more.
Yeah. You know what? Here's how you fix it. Let's just all go back to 1997.
I would argue that the problem with how do you fix baseball as a topic this time of year is that they have fixed baseball, but not enough for you. Like, that's what's happened. 'Cause they have fixed it. They've implemented all the ideas we had all those years ago.
I've discovered it's the smartphone. And everything else over the last 15 years was just us trying to rationalize why it wasn't the smartphone.
I think they need to sprinkle in some things that like just bring us back. Like we need a Gary Sheffield type stance. No one's got that in baseball.
They have Babe Ruth playing right now.
That's right.
Nothing is bringing us back.
They kind of have multiple Babe Ruths.
They have a guy who
Enough
pitches.
with Mike Trout.
Mike Trout's not
Enough
pitching.
with him. Enough.
Mike Trout.
Like they have the novelty and sensation of Ichiro mixed and matched with unprecedented power and pitching all in one guy in a huge market. And we
You know what I need? They need a Jeff Bagwell. That's what they need right here.
They have an Aaron Judge.
Your
down, go a little lower video.
Bagwell's
A little
not
lower
the
video.
stance isn't good enough. You got to
kidding me? Look at
the
this
elbow's
thing.
got to be a little higher.
The ass has to be on the
I am
ground.
low right now, Dan. You don't even know.
There used to be a guy who made a living off of doing impersonations of batting stances.
Oh, the batting stance guy.
he was the
he's great.
best.
He's great.
Ah.
What do you? Why? What happened? Find that video and send it to video instead of just going and
His
giving
Kevin
up on
Youkilis was
it.
Billy
great,
brought
Dan.
the guy up.
I know,
and
and then
was
gets
unimpressed
bored
by
with his own
it.
subject as soon as we buy in on it. That's
come to my
so
head.
Billy. So Billy.
I'm just saying, I mean, this is the guy's whole gimmick. It just
But
copies
you
other
brought
people's batting
the
stances.
subject up.
It's
and then
just crazy. This is someone's profession. I don't understand
It wasn't his profession. It
It
was
was.
just something he was
No.
doing.
Influencer.
I guarantee you that this man quit his job to become batting stance guy at one point
But
in time.
we all tried to help you.
Damn, look at
we
those
were like,
calves.
yeah,
He
batting
quit.
stance
He
guy.
quit
And
as soon as
well, my
soon-
point was how crazy it was that this was a thing. This was a time in this country that we had a guy who would just go around. Baseball, look, I love baseball, okay? But I will say this. Baseball attracts some weirdos, okay? And I'm not saying the batting stance guy is a weirdo. I will say that the guy that's like the middle-aged man that runs and knocks over little kids to steal home run balls, that guy's a weirdo. We can agree with that.
No,
right?
that guy's an asshole.
It made Marlins man.
Yeah, and
That's a weirdo.
he's got all his screws.
Kevin Youkilis never swung at a 3-0 pitch.
What a stance.
That's not true.
No, it is true. I
That's
saw
not
that
true.
too. I scrolled. Did you scroll by some Instagram
Yeah.
thing that was
No,
like
that's not
odd
true.
facts about
Source,
baseball?
just
Is that where the
internet.
coconut thing came from? I don't believe that.
I mean, it probably isn't true, but the internet told me it was true.
Similar to how Louis Castillo would never swing at the first pitch.
I do not want to escape, as much as Billy would like everyone to escape this, what he just did.
What I
because
do.
It was a real window into his soul. You mentioned batting stance guy.
Yeah, now on to the next.
It's one of the few instances in the history of the show where you got immediate buy-in on something from something you said from everybody, and you got bored by the subject 3 syllables after that because you didn't want to be going along with the crowd.
No falsehoods. I knew that, my point was I can't believe that we made this a thing. And then everybody was like, oh, that guy was great. I'm like, oh, here we go down this path.
Allow me to get...
Why is he? Like, I'm on his Instagram right now. The third to last post he did was Andre Dawson. Like, respectfully, batting stance guy. Who in the year of our Lord 2024 is asking for impersonations of Andre Dawson's batting stance?
Throwback.
Stugotz did at my wedding.
The Hawk. I can't believe that he asked him to write a chapter in that book.
It's crazy. It's totally insane.
And the chapter, to my understanding, was you didn't deserve to be MVP. Tell me
Yes.
why you did.
That's right. On a last place team, you can't be MVP. I can't believe that you are legitimately learning for the first time that Stugotz is flirting with WFAN again. He wants to be a program director, man.
He doesn't.
Well, he doesn't want to do the work of it. He just wants the power.
No, he just wants the money.
And
Yeah, he
that
just
too.
wants the money. Like he'll outsource the power to somebody else to do his
Not
bidding.
exactly scraping together 2 nickels over here.
Well, but that's the thing. He doesn't want the money. It's not enough money. Otherwise, he'd already be doing it at WFAN.
No, he wants the money that he thought was attached to the role.
No, he wants all the money here and that money without doing any of the work of being program director.
I could
over
not,
there.
and I hope he's listening. I could not envision a worse program director at this
Oh,
point.
that's no.
No,
that-
I mean, look at how we opened the show, guys. He is who he has always been, always. So,
But
you
he's
don't
got-
want that as a program director.
he's got a lot
You don't
of-
want a program director. You don't know if he's going to be in town or not.
But he's got a lot of good ideas, and he does care when he cares. It's just trickier these days to get him to care
Would
the
he
way that
care to
used
share them?
Well, he
Please.
does. He's angling. The whole thing, I think, is meant to be a negotiation. I mean, contract here for everybody. I think it's meant to be to create. Look, man, the industry isn't dying, but it's shaking, right? When you get all of these people at ESPN who are either being asked to take pay cuts or get out of there while they give the money to just a few people, the industry really is struggling and spasming. And when I get scared about stuff around here, it's at least in part because I'm not sure if we don't make this succeed, where are these jobs in Florida? Like what the jobs that we presently have here, where do we get them in Florida while remaining near and around our families if they're not created by us?
In May 2008, Dan Patrick mentions batting stance guy and his, quote, unmarketable skill.
Well, it's not a business, Billy.
He made it one. That's the part that I can't believe. We had this country where he was just running around doing impressions. Thank goodness for the MLB Network, by the way, right? Because then what are you going to do? You're going to go do the local morning show circuit?
The only jobs in media out here are probably, I mean, you would assume that you're right. We'd properly be boned, but there's soccer jobs and Spanish language jobs. So we'll start learning Spanish.
Okay, very good. You mentioned the smartphone, and I wanted to ask everybody here, because this is an exasperation of mine, as things get updated, do you guys believe that everything around Apple, that there is a glitch in the system that allows their stuff to fall apart 2 or 3 or 4 years in, so that you're obligated because of your addiction to again feed them money in 3 or 4 years, because there's a feature, not a bug, in their system that breaks things after your addiction?
Are you posing this as a theory? They lost a major lawsuit
It's a
because
fact.
of that way. Yeah. Because of that. Yeah.
My wife's phone froze and she couldn't get it started back again, so she had to get a new one.
Yeah, they had to suffer the consequences in that they got fined an amount that did not at all equal the amount of money that they made, because everybody's phone just started crapping out whenever there was a new one.
Do you guys have any other examples of the big corporations doing something like that kind of nefarious once it is that they've gotten us that kind of addicted to things? Because my frustration was that it's just happened too recently with too many things in my house where I'm like, my God, what a great grift. It's not just, you've heard me talk before about Apple can charge me for certain things at this point, and I don't even know what they're for, and I just assume that it's right because there's a $6.99 charge over here somewhere that I'm assuming they could do to a lot of people who may not be paying attention to every $6.99.
The only other example I could cite is just the general conspiracy to keep the oil industry alive.
Well, that's a darker
a good
and
one.
more serious subject.
My
Yes.
computer was 18 minutes behind for the last 3 days, and I couldn't figure out why. It fixed itself. But I was quite concerned. I couldn't figure out how do I speed this up 18 minutes, and why are we 18 minutes behind? And it wasn't frozen 18 minutes behind. It was continuing to move just 18 minutes behind every single day.
You're in agreement that Apple is actively. It's not just that everyone's listening to us on our devices. Like how is it that we can be this okay with these things? Is our dependency on this company too big to fail? Whatever it is, $3 trillion market share, can buy everything in the world except Bezos. how is it that you're not more troubled by the fact that we've got devices that are listening to us and breaking every couple of years so they could charge us more money?
Well, I'm not, because I have a Samsung Galaxy on Android.
You show that company as you tout Google.
I'm not touting. I'm actually touting Samsung, actually.
Yeah, but it runs on Google.
Runs on Google.
Yeah, so like you're giving your data to a big tech company either way. Like you're really showing Apple.
A chiropractor.
But
Once you go, you got to keep going back.
Yeah,
Ooh,
he's right.
Really good one.
Well, I mean, just in general, not to sound like a crazy person, but like any business or whatever whose like business plan is to solve your problem would go out of business if they actually solved all of your problems. So they don't want to actually solve all of your problems, because then they wouldn't exist.
The money's not in the cure.
Chili's 2 for $20 menu keeps me coming back.
That hasn't been the thing.
They changed it.
Exactly right. Thank you, Jeremy. We need to have truthers come out and say this Chili's 2 for $20 is now like 2 for $99. We haven't been 2 for $20 in damn near a decade.
It's heartbreaking.
And
Now it's like 3 for $10. There's like some weird thing. They have like some like small plates.
3
for
$10.
$10.
Small plates?
3 cubes of ice for $10 maybe. And the $5 footlong, what happened to that? Okay? I mean, now we're like at $15 for a 6-inch sub at Subway.
I would like for you guys to give me the greatest example, because there are a number of times recently where I've gotten super frustrated on behalf of others for things that are so not affordable now that used to be. I'd like for each of you to come up with a single thing that has recently floored you because the price of it is so much different than it used to be, and you're like, what the hell is going on with inflation in a country of a lot of one-issue voters? I can't afford things anymore is something that is going to make people both angry and vote differently.
I've got one that goes the other way. I always took a principled stand on buying food at a movie theater. We all know, like, we sneak candy into a movie theater. It's part of the
I
experience.
taught my daughter that. It's like the first illegal thing I taught my daughter.
Yeah, but
Not that
Good
I don't
father
plan on
right
doing
there.
other things. I'm just saying.
But I went to a movie with my daughter, and where I used to be able to say no to anybody else, I'm not going to be able to say no to my daughter, because it's an event anytime we actually go as a family to a movie theater. So I went, and for the first time in like 15 years, I bought concession stand food at a movie theater.
$62 you probably spent or something.
Honestly, it was such a relief, because everything else has gotten so out of hand that they handed me like a $4 candy, like a $4 sweet tart. I'm like, whoa, this is the life. This is incredible. Inflation has, like, they were so ahead of the curve on inflation that everything around it caught up. And now it's like a bargain.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Has inflation gotten so out of control that movie theater concessions are now cheap? Chris, I want to follow up on the first illegal thing you have taught your daughter.
The only
Well,
that I will.
for now.
I should have rephrased.
For now.
Yeah, for now.
The one illegal thing I will allow her to do. There it is.
Getting to the subject I was trying to get to.
There it is.
Because
I don't think it's illegal. There's not a law against it.
Sneaking candy that they sell there, I mean, I'm probably not going to get arrested.
Morally questionable, maybe.
It's policy. It's not a
But
law.
probably get me kicked out of the movie at least.
No, they'll take anyone at this point at a movie theater, I think.
Elite combo, a bottle of a red blend that's moderately priced at a movie theater with bunch of crunch. I'm telling you, this is like a sommelier would say that is an incredible pairing, sir. What a decision you have made.
All right,
Wise choice.
Mike is obsessed with this now. Mike wants to bring the movie theater back. Mike is one of the people in the world who is not just romantic about the movie theater, but is actively trying to do things, make events, and take people out to the movie theater. So he gets obsessed with all their little marketing strategies, the popcorn buckets, the food that has a theme. What is it? A spicy Frito of some sort?
Well, Twisters. So while you were away, I made the point that I think Top Gun Maverick was, you could make a solid argument that it was the most important movie ever because it saved movie theaters, and also it was awesome. It was incredible. and it was a star-making vehicle for a lot of the members of the cast, and one of the cast members
Still
in that
haven't
movie,
seen it, by the way.
Oh, you haven't seen Top Gun Maverick?
No, and I'm ashamed of myself for not having seen it because it's the rare movie that I thought was a super bad idea, had enormous expectations, and somehow exceeded those expectations.
For all those reasons, Tom Cruise deserves a special Academy Award just for Top Gun Maverick, but Glenn Powell was one of these stars that was made by this film. He was in Hollywood for a long time, hadn't become a star, and he didn't really steal this movie because the movie was impossible to steal from anyone. It was an incredible movie, but he became a superstar from it, and now he is the lead in a reinvigorated Twisters franchise. If this movie came out in 2018, it might have been direct to streaming. It would have been a dud. It would have been panned. Nobody would have been with it. But
a good old-fashioned disaster movie.
This was a thing in the 90s. Disaster movies in the summer, box office events, food tie-ins, be it fast food tie-ins or snacks. Fritos has blessed us with the nostalgia of something tangible. And this is why all these novelty items are coming back in a big way. In an era of everything living on a cloud, everything being streamed, even your ticket stub is no longer tangible. You're dying, yearning for something tangible. So I am going to sneak these Fritos Twister Collabo Twister chips because it's flaming hot and ranch. You shake it up in the bag, and you make a little twister inside the bag. And I'm going to the theaters on Sunday to watch Twisters. And now, like, there's already – I may dress up as a cow because this harkens back to a time where the disaster movie in the summer really meant something. So I'm going 4DX. Now, I told you – my previous experience with 4DX caught me by surprise. I didn't know what to expect.
Shakes the seats,
yeah,
correct?
I was pouring my moderately priced red blend, and I was watching Ethan Hunt motorcycle throughout Europe, and I got wine all over myself. But now that I'm prepared for it, I have accepted the challenge. I'm dressing in all white in my cow costume and getting a moderately priced bottle of red blend to see exactly how I can survive this experience. And that is just basically the appetizer for next week, where Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman try to save cinema.
Roy, why are you laughing at the assortment of Mike Ryan observations here?
I'm just wondering if that cow suit's going to have the udders on it.
Yeah, you want the udders. It's not a cow suit. It's not a cow suit without the udders. But I don't know if you've seen these popcorn buckets, but this is a true demand. Dune 2, the popcorn bucket became a meme, and what you end up having is like, oh, I want to go to the movie theaters. I wasn't sold on this movie, but I want the novelty item because this is going to be a collector's item because we've had essentially 20 years with zero movie memorabilia. No movie posters. You're not going to a video store to say, hey, do you have any old movie posters? You can't even save a ticket stub anymore. So the Alien popcorn bucket looks incredible. I cannot wait to eat out of that thing.
I do think it's pretty hilarious that the first popcorn bucket that's bringing the novelty popcorn bucket back is the Dune 2 one that everybody wanted to fuck.
Yeah. Well, now the whole thing is like, the challenge is make a popcorn bucket that people want to fuck. So
put it on the poll, please, Juju. Did everyone want to have sex with the popcorn bucket?
Come on, thank you for not saying fuck.
Come on.
But, I mean, it was implausible. Number one, the hole
Everybody
was
wanted to.
rather large, but also it had the spines in there. It was kind of like a cat's vagina. That's why cats scream so much when they have sex. They have those spines inside. So anytime you hear a cat screaming, it's the out. Mm-hmm. They're trying to pull out, and the spines are just like keeping the penis in.
Was Dune where the popcorn bucket made its return?
Yeah, the novelty popcorn bucket had its moment with Dune, and now everybody is chasing. And yes, you have tentpole franchises, big, large movie franchises taking a stab at this, but I think we're now on a path where these are such a hit. People want some tangible merchandise attached with their movie-going experience that boring courtroom dramas should take a stab at making a popcorn bucket. I'll take a Primal Fear popcorn bucket. Let's do it.
Lewis just said something in my ear, and I'm going to run with it, that the penis actually has the spines on it and not the vagina.
Well, either way, it hurts when it's being ripped out.
Right, it does hurt on the way out.
Good, I'm glad
we're
we
right on
clarified.
that.
Yeah.
But where the spines
It's
are,
a penis?
that's what
Cats.
confirmed
That's what cats
100%
have.
in my ear.
Confirmed 100% by the person that told it
Well,
to
they
you.
looked it up.
Can
Like,
you
should I
ask that person
Google-
about Kevin Euclid?
Should I Google cat penis?
How about Craig Counsell's stance?
Oh.
Bring that thing back?
There was a time a person could make a living off of this.
Great
It's
counsel.
crazy.
Lewis was right.
Suspiciously
$5
dark hair.
footlongs. Insane.
Ron McGill brought that up.
I think that what you're arguing on behalf of is a good idea, at least in part because the first memory I have of sort of becoming a baseball fan was getting those Slurpee big gulp type of cups at 7-Eleven of baseball players. This was, good God, this was in the 70s. But it's not just that it was memorabilia. It made a child a lifelong fan of baseball because as a child I had connection to something that was tangible, as you mentioned. I do wonder, like we've talked a lot about the fact that we're more connected than we've ever been and more disconnected than we've ever been because everybody you walk past in the streets, they're all staring inside their phones, and the only tangible thing that all of us have is some sort of addiction to these devices. And I do agree with you that you have to start reinventing portions of the industry in a way that grabs young people with just junk, toys, anything that they can have that's in their hands. God, I long for people wanting anything in their hands because I come back from Africa with an assortment of pictures and you're like, I could get that off of Google.
Yeah,
like none of those
yeah.
pictures. Like I've got an award-winning photographer with me. It's Ron McGill. He's taken all sorts of pictures that are beautiful and breathtaking. And you're like, yeah, anyone could have taken those. I could have downloaded that from my computer. I didn't have to go to Africa to go get it.
Pop culture, since basically the fidget spinner is missing tangible touchstones. You know, it's like you had all these things in the set. Slinky, you had all these things that were tangible that took you back to a time
Yo-yo.
when you held it. We don't really have those things anymore because the only thing we are holding is our phones.
Well, let me ask you on the subject of toys, because I guess the video game has probably replaced anything that resembles the toy. You guys can't shut up about this college football game, the EA Sports one. I think Chris Fowler's the next South Beach session. He's the voice of everything happening there, and it took many, many hours to do everything that he was doing there. But is there such a thing right now as a popular toy for children that all
tablet.
children? No, come on.
The tablets just replace it
No.
because the tablet's a catch-all.
It's
like
a babysitter.
You can download an app that is a yo-yo rather than have an actual
You're
yo-yo.
telling me there's no such thing right now as a toy?
No, there are, but it's not a booming business. Like I said, where are these pop culture touchstones when it comes to toys? The last thing that was a tangible thing that was a sensation, I genuinely think, was the fidget spinner.
Billy, as you sit over there doing whatever it is that you do over the course of a day,
Funkos, they're collectible. They stay in the box.
Legos, maybe?
Yeah, Legos.
Kids still
I guess,
like
are-
Legos?
Yeah, Legos stand the test of time, I guess. But like, it's very few and far between.
Closing tabs right now. The tab I'm about to close is Weeb Eubank.
because
Because we were talking Jets yesterday on recording for GBF, and we were talking about how long Robert Saleh, spoiler alert, how long Robert Saleh would get a grace period if he won a Super Bowl as a Jet coach. So I was looking up how long Weeb Eubank survived with the Jets after winning their Super Bowl in 1969. Weeb Eubank.
okay, I'm glad that that's what you're doing during what
I'm
you're
closing tabs because I need to have space for more tabs to open while I look up things like popcorn buckets and
Yeah.
fidget spinners.
as you try to help the
pop
show at
sockets,
every
right? Is that what they're
turn.
called?
Yeah.
Pop sockets?
The
Little-
question I wanted to ask you is if you, while doing that in your role as anarchist who doesn't actually support anything that's happening around here, if you're secretly proud of yourself that 24 minutes have gone by and because of you, I haven't been able to get to LeBron and MJ. Yeah. I got to this text too late, unfortunately. Stugotz is here, but he's in another room because he doesn't want to be around me until I get tested for COVID. But he's mad that no one in the room, like legitimately mad, just texted me, how is it? And this is how it is that he thinks he can be a program director, because he's like, how is it in a room full of talented people talking about the popcorn bucket that none of them were clever or smart enough to say that it should be a popcorn fuck it? That's the kind of program director.
Got to work on AM radio.
The kind of program director stuff that Stugotz wants to take.
Noted good idea man, Stugotz.
To WFAN. Stugotz is evidently just typing in the other room commentary. So he's in the studio writing things that mock the show in real time if you want to watch it on YouTube.
With the talented comedy writers of the video team.
Yeah, who you take facts from, dangerous.
Well, they
when you're
confirmed
just-
their own facts.
It was
so-
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
We
you
have
say so.
was
confirmed
comedy.
through another graphic that Kevin Euclid never swung at a 3-0 pitch.
Dan, you mentioned LeBron and Michael Jordan last segment, and we're going to get to it. But Bronny, the truth, huh?
12 points in a summer league game.
I mean, he hit some threes.
Jeremy came marching in here today like the front of a marching band, saying these are the 24 hours to be excited about the Heat, because LeBron is saying that Bam can shoot threes, and they've got the dunk of the summer league.
Yeah,
so
this
far.
is it. This is your 24 hours, because I know a lot of Heat fans have felt negative about the way the offseason has gone, running it back, whatever you got. But yesterday was one of those days where you can feel good, because first and foremost, Alondas Williams had the dunk of the summer league. It is one of the sickest dunks you'll find.
All right, hold on a minute. Let's just show it and hear it so people can enjoy it.
Get out of the lane. Alondas Williams! Oh, goodness! Oh, the dunk of the summer! Wait a second. Where are we going to see that? Sports Center, top 10. Oh, get out of the lane.
It was pretty good. You don't often get
A full cockback.
Yeah, I mean, but cock back to maximum extension of your arm until it's around your hip before you dunk it. Yeah, that's pretty
Hence
good.
full.
Ridiculous. But the reason to be optimistic isn't even Alondas Williams. It's what Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo each did in their individual games. Khalil Ware has had a really good start to the Summer League. Yesterday, he had 24 points on 9 of 12 shooting. He's shown his ability to work from distance, but he's also blocking shots off ball, playing drop coverage, doing the things that the Heat are going to want him to do as a rookie, even though a lot of people thought he'd be a project initially. And the reason you get excited about a big is because Bam Adebayo playing the 4 next to Anthony Davis looks like a world beater playing for Team USA, as he should. He's surrounded by great teammates, but what he's doing offensively, stretching the floor for them, what he's doing on the defensive end, it's okay to feel optimistic today. There's all sorts of reasons why you don't have to, but when you look at those two guys and their individual performances, it allows you to feel optimistic about some of the other things going around the Heat, including Jaime Jaquez being called the best player on Team Select alongside Cooper Flagg. These are really positive things, and today's your 24 hours. The Knicks win the summer, the Sixers win the summer. You get your 24 hours just like the Rockets got when Reed Shepherd went off in the Summer League.
So does that mean after today we won't hear you talk about it again?
Sure. That's why I said we get 24
you
hours.
better be careful offering that promise, Jeremy. You better be careful.
Unless you
offering-
guys ask me to.
That will not be happening.
I understand it's flattering. Team Select has a lot of good players, but I love that this guy is as good as a high schooler.
Well, that kid's going to be the number one pick. They're saying they're the two best players available.
I'm aware
there,
he's really
but-
good. And yes, while you can be encouraged by everyone that's on Team USA is singing Bam's praises, there is a lot of clamoring of people that watch international basketball that say Bam needs to start over Joel Embiid, particularly because Bam suits the international game so much more. What Joel does so well, or what he gets away with so often in the NBA, is flopping around, and officials in the international game just look at him with befuddlement and apathy because he's just flopping around, and they don't reward that over there. But I will say the reason why Bam looks so good is because he's playing with such better players.
Yeah.
It is a blessing to have Bam be, at best, the 4th most important player on the court. If anything, this accentuates the need to surround Bam with even more talent, something that up to right now, even though we're excited for 24 hours, the Miami Heat has failed miserably at.
And that's perfectly fair. You can have that take. in 24 hours from now, because today you're allowed to be happy. Heat fans, I'm looking directly into the camera and speaking to you. Today is the day you're allowed to be happy about what Bam Adebayo did yesterday, about what Khalil Ware looks like, and what he could be moving forward. And hey, use that to feel optimistic about your other young players. Use it to feel optimistic about the things that some of those other players on the team, like Terry Rozier or Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson, can provide. It's your 24 hours to be optimistic. You can go back to your baptism tomorrow.
Stop him.
Being a homer, bro.
When are we
Stop being a homer, bro.
Executive produce the show, Chris. You can't let him just run around all over the place masturbating about Khalil Ware.
No,
I would
you're
need
right.
the Dune 2 popcorn bucket for that.
Oh boy. When are we gonna lock up the sweater whip? Why is he an unrestricted free agent still? Guy's out there hitting threes like it's nobody's business.
Is that why he hasn't been going to the arena? Can he not practice there right now? Because
he's in the summer league.
He's in the summer league.
While I was out, you guys please tell me if what Khalil Ware did with Jeremy, where he gave a Mount Rushmore of 4 players that were ridiculous, was something he was actively doing as a young person to be a troll. Did you guys identify? I'm trying to get caught up on all of the things that I missed while I was gone, and it's been a lot. So where did you guys land on this? Because when I saw that, I'm like, this is asinine. They must have made fun of this. This can't be something serious that a young person is saying.
Yeah, for those of you who don't remember what Khalil Ware said, he told me that his Mount Rushmore of NBA players all time was Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe Bryant, Anthony Edwards, and Bam Adebayo. And I can tell you,
he panicked after 3.
I think he was trolling. I think he was having some fun with the guys that are currently in the league, knowing it would make some headlines. I don't think he realized that it would get aggregated by, like, everybody.
I'm just realizing you were in Africa when we discussed the Swider Web. You don't know about Swider Web.
I mean, I know that
It's a movement that took the nation while you were gone for 2 weeks, but it took the nation while you were gone. Everybody around the country was screaming, Swider Web!
All you gotta do
Because
is
of
say it
Cole
like that.
Swider. Yeah, he was hitting
Try it,
threes
Dan.
like it was nobody's business, as I told you before. At
Nobody's
record
business.
paces, people were saying, you know what? This might be the next Steph Curry. That happened while you were in Africa. Everybody was saying, Swider Web! It was a big moment. And then, for whatever reason, Pat Riley and the Heat, they pulled back his offer, and then he became an unrestricted free agent. Because he's such a good team guy, he's still out there playing number 21, the hollowed number 21 of greats like Hassan Whiteside in the history of the Heat.
Sean Leonard, I believe.
Yeah. Swider Whip!
What whip?
Why is the expression like nobody's business? Because the batting stance is literally nobody's business. And when you say he was hitting threes and it caught on like nobody's business, I don't understand what that expression means. What does that mean? Do you know what it means?
I don't know. I'm not a wordsmith. I just report
Well,
the facts.
they're your words.
Swider Whip!
They're your facts.
It's not his business.
It's not my business.
Let me ask all of you this question because this is what I have assumed. And I have not done any reporting on this, but I will because I do want to find out about this, and I've been covering this team for a long time. I do not believe that by the trading deadline of this upcoming year that the Heat will be there saying, oh, yeah, we still think we're as good as the Sixers, and we'll just magic our way up there. Like what we have seen over the last 2 years is, and this is understandable, I get why this happens. I know that a lot of people would look at Pat Riley and say it's passed him by. In the last 2 years, they've swung and missed on everybody because they have swung and missed on everybody. But they've been passed, and the way they got passed was just like they fell in love with a 30-13 stretch that Dion Waiters and Hassan Whiteside made them feel like, well, we've got to try to run it back. What happened as an 8 seed by beating Giannis in the first round made them try to run it back, and then you saw it's not good enough. And now as you see what Philadelphia has done, and I assume Milwaukee would get better, they're behind. They're clearly and obviously behind. And given what I'm about to say, because if you've been connected at all to mortality in the last few months of Richard Simmons is dying, Dr. Ruth is dying, Bill Walton's dying, Jerry West is dying. Pat Riley doesn't have any reason in the world to still be working at his age approaching 80. He's not going to wait around for another young team to ferment. Most recently, the things that they have done with young people is something that Pat Riley has never before done in his career. So I have assumed that the next play is going to be an assortment of pieces that gets Jimmy Butler for 1 year maximum Jimmy Butler, and that he's going to try and get Durant again, even though it's old and everybody would look at it and say, really? That's what you're doing? It's Phoenix. It didn't work in Phoenix. I've assumed that that's the move that they're going to try and get in play for, because I don't see a better one about winning right now this minute, because you cannot expect this Miami Heat team to be good enough as it is to challenge Boston and Philadelphia.
Well, it's been fermenting. This core has been fermenting for quite a while with Pat not doing anything. Meanwhile, guys like Matt Ishbia are the ones living like they're dying. So I do know that they did try really aggressively, made a very competitive offer for DeMar DeRozan, and they thought that that could maybe salvage their offseason. But this is where you're at right now. DeMar DeRozan was essentially given the choice, where do you want to be? He preferred to be on the West Coast, and he took the storied Sacramento Kings franchise over Heat culture.
Jeremy said we can't talk about this today, though, guys.
That's
we
fair
have to
enough.
talk
Not the
about
day
this
for it.
tomorrow.
Positivity
Fair enough.
today, guys.
24 hours.
Fair enough.
Then we can have
Wait
these
until tomorrow.
conversations.
Yeah.
Maybe we put a pin in this until
Remember the
tomorrow.
positive things
Table
about
it.
the guys that are here.
Stop being a homer, bro.
Fine. I will finally be able to get to this LeBron story.
Oh,
I just want to read some of the commentary because I think it's interesting. I would imagine that the audience that follows everything that's happening in sports takery would find it interesting. But Nick Wright came on our show, and if you're watching what's happening at Fox as Skip Bayless leaves and Colin Cowherd builds an empire, Nick Wright is in position to be Fox's big sports star. And one of the ways that he got into that position is by taking a hair-splitting take of LeBron is better than Michael Jordan. To me, it's lowest common denominator idiotic and also brilliant, because it's just an easy way to manipulate sports fans on a passion that they have that is crazed and unreasonable. So what I underestimated yesterday when I said I believe that LeBron James in retirement will eclipse what Michael Jordan has done in retirement. A whole lot of people reacted very hostilely to that. I'm just going to read some of the commentary. Can he ever be taken seriously again? That's meaning me. Typical casuals trying to disrespect the undisputed GOAT. We don't care, buddy. Hit the gym. You look like you just ate a bunch of vanilla ice cream. I think Dan. I think Dan.
Why is it vanilla?
I don't know.
What is that a shot at?
I don't even like.
Is it
vanilla.
the mustache?
I
What is
don't
going
like
on?
vanilla. I think it might be. Yeah,
It might be the mustache.
It might be the white in my beard. Yeah. I think Dan is mistakenly arguing on bigger when it's really just different. I don't. It's not that I don't like vanilla. It's that I like more flavors.
I was gonna say.
oh.
Well, vanilla is kind of like a vessel. Like if you really like toppings, you go vanilla because you
Caramel
know
on
what
it.
you know what to expect there. You don't want to take away from the toppings.
Yeah, sprinkles.
LeBron is a big deal, but this is a blind spot for Dan as he continues to be obsessed with new media. He'll never be as big as Jordan, never. Kobe was bigger than LeBron before his death and still is post-death. LeBron is the third most well-known NBA player of all time, and that's fine. Stop drinking before the show. P.S. You lost your personality with the weight loss. That happens sometimes. That happens sometimes to
Yeah.
I
funny
mean, I'd
people.
take it as a compliment and say you lost some weight.
Yeah, but Jonah Hill's not doing really funny roles anymore.
So let me read
Why
it.
does Seth Rogen look crazy?
I haven't seen him in a minute.
Oh
I mean,
my
let me
God,
pull
he
him
looks
up.
like he came out of a time machine from 1970. The way that he dresses.
Now he just sells ashtrays.
What?
He started a whole company where he like molds ashtrays and stuff. He
Yeah.
started a whole
perfect for. He apparently likes weed.
All right. What?
Seth Rogen.
We'll get back to that. Back
His
to LeBron.
ashtrays have little joint holders in them.
Put it on the poll,
I've
please,
heard.
Juju. Does Seth Rogen look like he stepped out of the 1970s? Yes, he's one of the most famous weed smokers. He has said publicly, among other things, why would he have kids when he can be on a Saturday morning smoking weed in bed with his wife? He makes a lot of pottery and other things. He seems to be a a real docile pothead.
He as unlikable as you'll hear Seth Rogen, him talking about his kids thing. He's very condescending of like, yeah, me and my wife, we look at each other every day. We're like, we don't have kids. Oh, this is great. Makes a lot of pottery. Very condescending. I love Seth Rogen, but when I saw that clip about the kids, I was just like, meh.
Because you have kids, and
No.
He's judging you by
It was the
saying,
condescension. It was like
he thinks his
knew
life
he was
is better
right.
than yours.
He knew he was right. Of like, look how happy I am. It's like you haven't seen how happy I am when my daughter walks in the room. Okay, bud, jerk.
Whoa.
I love you, Seth Rogen. I'm sorry. I just
From
didn't
bird
like
to
it.
joking.
Wow. It's like you don't know what it feels like. Just like I know what it feels like not to have kids, huh? You don't know what it feels like too. Wow. Jerk.
All right then.
Billy,
I don't know why I keep throwing jerk.
I don't know why you
I think
do
maybe
either.
I saw a picture of him in a costume.
In the 70s?
Possibly. He was on like Kimmel or something. I thought he just dressed that way, but maybe he was dressed up.
I get the IG ads for the pottery, which does amplify the pun quite a bit that Jeremy made, and he looked fine.
Did you know that Cheech sells gummies?
Yeah, I know, because I keep asking X to stop showing me the
Oh my
ads.
God,
and
X is insistent.
dude, it's unrelenting. The Cheech and Chong gummy ads.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Are the Cheech and Chong gummy ads unrelenting? The clarification I want to make on what it is that I was talking about.
It's chocolate ice cream.
Pistachio. Because many of you are writing in, pointing out correctly how much money Michael Jordan makes selling Nike and being a part of the Jordan brand. This has always been fascinating to me. Ever since, being in a room with Jim Brown and having him say that Muhammad Ali didn't go from America's most hated athlete to its most loved until he lost his ability to speak, and then derisively went after Michael Jordan for not standing for anything, and the famous quote attached to Michael Jordan, which is, the reason that I don't take public stances is because Republicans buy shoes too. I understand how you would arrive at the opinion, well, LeBron will never make the money Michael Jordan has made in sneakers. And you'd be right. He's not likely to have a business that makes as much money as sneakers. Michael told you what his plan was. Republicans buy shoes too. LeBron wants a media company. LeBron wants to own teams, plural. LeBron builds schools. LeBron wants to take 5% of every NBA player's contract because he wants to be representing every single NBA player. LeBron is going to get a better ending than Michael got. At the end, Michael's ending was, you're just an employee. Get out of the Washington building. We've used you up for everything you got left. Long after Michael retired, LeBron is getting the coach hired and getting his son $8 million so they can move around the salary cap and just get a little more. I just think he's going to get everything that he wants and that he's got bigger ambitions than just being a basketball head at the end of his career. And I think the next 20 years of LeBron are going to be super interesting, what he can do with that money. You might disagree and tell me he'll never make as much money as Michael Jordan, and you might be right about that. But he's going to do more of what it is that he wants, which is vastly different than what Michael Jordan wanted from the end of his career. It's going to have his fingerprints in a whole lot of stuff because of what he did with the ending of the managing of his career. Michael Jordan got used by Abe Pollin in Washington. It's probably the last time the Wizards were that kind of relevant. Got used and squeezed the last little bit. LeBron spent all that time making the Hollywood relationships that he needs to so that he can have real power post-retirement.
Well, Michael made most of his money because of the equity stake that he had in Nike, because he essentially saved Nike, and Jordan is this massive brand. But he also, during his playing career, only made $94 million, and it's because of those sacrifices and Michael Jordan saving the league when it was in desperate need of stars that LeBron was able to make these career earnings. But now, because of guys like LeBron, Cole Swider may actually, if he ever does catch on, have an opportunity. I think Tyler Johnson made more money than Michael Jordan made in his career, you know?
Tyler Johnson signed for like $50 million, and I'm pretty sure that what I'm about to say is right. that Michael wasn't a billionaire during his playing days. LeBron is. And if you're following the paths of how that stuff gets changed, it might well be that it's just different and not bigger. And I know that many of you, because of the tack that Michael Jordan took, many of you hate LeBron in a way that very few people hate Michael Jordan. And that's part of the marketing genius, that there are no haters pre-internet to Michael Jordan. That's part of what it is that makes him vastly less polarizing than LeBron. But I can't help but be awed at being able to figure out in your 30s, let me get my friend over here to get a percentage of all of the other players in the NBA and beyond, entertainment, who we can represent, so that the money that I changed in this sport of everyone's quickly is getting $175 million. Give me 3 to 5% of that. I represent you as Clutch Management. Like, that's just unbelievable, the amount of money he's going to be able to recreate. He's going to be able to treat the NBA the way that Michael treated Nike. No, I've got a percentage of this. I own a team. I represent players. I've got the power and the relationships to broker silver and Hollywood. Adam Silver and gold.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he would probably have to divest from the agency if he owns a team. You can't have an NBA team owning
he doesn't own the agency.
Yeah, that's true.
But this is why I'm amazed by the whole thing.
A little shady.
But this is why it's happening right now. The little shady is happening right now. When you can bring Anthony Davis aboard and have a percentage of what Anthony Davis is making, it's just taking a loophole that no one else has known to take.
But he can't if he doesn't actually own Clutch Management.
I understand, but if your best friend owns something, don't you also own it if you made your best friend?
I think it just means you could use the bathrooms.
This happened, actually. You guys remember, what was the name of this guy? Billy, you might remember. When Wayne Huizenga, when there was a rule that you can only own 2 sports teams in South Florida, and he wanted a third one. When there was a rule that you can only own 2 professional sports teams in sports, but he wanted to build Disney World around what was Joe Robbie Stadium.
He tried to put the team in his brother's name or something.
Brother-in-law. What was that guy's name? Was it Witt? It was Witt something. It was just a total obvious masquerade. Yes, he tried to move all of that money into the name of his brother-in-law, Witt Hudson?
Harris Witt Hudson.
Yeah, isn't that what Clutch Management is? Like, I really don't know. I don't know this.
He's not listed. So the take where he's taking a percentage of it. I mean, these are long espoused NBA conspiracy theories because everyone on the board has some sort of tie to LeBron James, but he doesn't actually own it.
Okay, so what do you think's happening there?
Well, I think it's suspicious too, but
I'm not saying
he can go ahead and own an NBA team and easily say and refute, I'm not getting anything off of these contracts.
I'm not saying
my friends are, and I am so happy for them.
You are hearing from me suspicion. It's not suspicion. It could.
Well, I heard from you certainty.
I am certain that this is another economic source that exists in and around LeBron James that he can and will at some point profit off of, whether it's financially, because he's got all of the options in the world, whether it's financially or my friends will just benefit from this because, again, he will get everything he wants post-retirement because of how he set this up over the last 5 years. The last 5 years haven't actually been about winning a championship. That he got one in there, great for him. The last
IST.
Forgiveness. Forgot about that one. Forgot about the in-season tournament.
Hey, put up 2 banners.
What's the dollar amount where you go from being Harry Wayne Huizenga to H. Wayne Huizenga? Because, I'm sure growing up he wasn't H. Wayne Huizenga. His friends probably called him Harry, right?
Come here, Harry.
What is Witt Hudson's name? Was that also?
It's also Harry.
So, do we even know if that person existed?
It's Harris.
So his was also, so they were both HW something? HW rich person? They both were that? H. Wayne Huizenga?
That is bizarre.
because they weren't related.
It's
they
not.
were
It's not.
in-laws,
It's
right?
not bizarre. It's all a construct that Huizenga was using poorly. He got denied because he was clearly trying to buy a team with his brother-in-law.
I can't log into Sun Sentinel, but the only line that I'm getting is Harris Witt Hudson sure had a good taste in high school girlfriends.
What?
That's Wayne Huizenga's sister.
Imagine baseball with like a Julio Franco stance, though. Bring that thing back.
Baseball had a Julio Franco.
No, bring it
stance.
back, though.
Julio
I'm telling you,
Franco.
we need crazy stances. There's no crazy stances anymore.
Is it just because we're not paying attention, or they stopped existing?
Who's got the craziest stance?
Who won?
Many of you are writing in now because you can be vultures. You can be buzzards about any time anyone around here says anything that can be objected to. You swoop in and you grab them. So a lot of you are writing in what all the rules are for owning multiple teams. LeBron already has an interest in Fenway sports, own the Red Sox, the Penguins, involved in racing. And I will just tell you, if you've been watching what Magic Johnson has done post-retirement, Magic Johnson has gotten into now baseball and football ownership, at least in part, because when these rich guys all get together, all they look around and see is other rich white guys, and they need somebody with a name and a lot of money. And so Magic Johnson is largely, often, the only one most available to put a smile on. This is a bunch of white guys walking into a room, and LeBron's about to enter into that territory as well, where he could do some of that. Also, on the buzzard front, Mike Ryan has been arguing with me since I got back about an assortment of different things, and today, for some reason, it was Davante Adams, which used to be a source of unity for me and Mike Ryan. We both argued very vehemently that he wasn't a number one receiver.
Yeah, it was a terrible take.
One of the worst.
In our defense, when we had that take, he was very bad. But he got really good after that.
Well, you're tired of Davante Adams.
Oh, dude, enough with Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. Like, they're like two star-crossed lovers that can never be together, except they chose to be apart. Ever since Davante Adams got to Vegas, it would appear that he's only been plotting some sort of return with Aaron Rodgers, be it back at the Raiders or with the Jets, and there's just open frustration that from both sides that they haven't been able to get it done. Who can we blame for this? Who? Davante, you had an opportunity. You had a choice. You got a really good offer from Green Bay. You took the bigger offer because it was, quote, your dream to play for the Raiders. And since you got there, you are openly into Wired for Sound microphones, subverting the Raiders at every turn. And now, back in the news cycle, I want to play with Aaron Rodgers again. Enough with this. You guys had the choice. You both made the choice that you wanted to move on. Maybe the Packers made their choice after it became untenable, but there was a path to staying together. And they're going to force their way into this. Davante Adams will almost assuredly, if they can make the cap situation work, find his way on the New York Jets this season. It's only a matter of time. I'm done hearing about it because it's been 3 years where they've openly campaigned for this.
The part that I disagree with you on and the part that I would like to explore conversationally is the choices we make when we make them, what we think we're choosing versus what ends up happening. Because I don't believe, and this one's always tricky with athletes because of how confident they have to be to survive that ecosystem. But I always believe that the most confident of athletes believe that they are the reason for their success. So if Davante Adams believes that, then he believes he made Aaron Rodgers, at least partially, as good as Aaron Rodgers was. And he feels like he can take that with him. Now, you learn pretty quickly that's not the case. Hell, Randy Moss learned it himself in Oakland. Randy Moss could do it with anybody. Dante Culpepper. Didn't he do it a little bit with Randall Cunningham?
Randy Moss would make anybody that stepped into that Vikings offense prolific.
Okay, so this is the part, though, where I can get entangled. So you've got two positions of extreme confidence. The quarterback, who's going to rightly feel like he's responsible for everything, and the diva glamour position in that sport that comes closest to star power to the quarterback, which is the wide receiver who's now being paid as if he's almost worth as much as the quarterback because Justin Jefferson and C.D. Lamb are not human beings that can be guarded. They can't be covered. Davante Adams probably goes to Oakland thinking, like Randy Moss did in going to Oakland, I'm going to do all of this again. And then it becomes, Garoppolo. It's not what I thought it was. And it got me to thinking about the choice that broke apart LeBron and Kyrie, which I'm assuming Kyrie regretted or learned what it is that he had only because he didn't have it anymore. And so I'm guessing that Davante Adams, when he was with Aaron Rodgers, however it is that people do the math on who's responsible for success on things, I'm guessing that Davante Adams, specifically at that position where you and I are doubting, that guy's not that good. That guy drops the ball an awful lot. He's saying, no, look at me. I'm a number one receiver. I made Aaron Rodgers an MVP, and now I got my money in Oakland, and I do believe that a lot
Vegas.
of times, I'm sorry, yeah.
It's tricky.
Same sort of thing with him and Randy Moss, but thank you. I'm assuming that he didn't realize the choice that he made because you keep doing this thing. Well, he chose the money.
Well, he also chose another quarterback that he had an affinity for, that he had a relationship with in college, in Derek Carr, and he just figured I can recreate that magic. And once it became clear that he made a bad decision, and then once Derek and that interpersonal relationship moved on to another place, he took every opportunity to be really upset with the quarterback production openly, and a source of frustration inside that locker room, doing all the things that a superstar should do publicly to try to force his way out. Apparently, it was close last year with him forcing his way onto the New York Jets, and it probably would have happened if Aaron wasn't hurt. This is what he wants, which is it's a little exhausting. Like, you had the opportunity to stay together. You really did. You just didn't want to. And I understand how you get there, and I understand the ego of athletes and all that. That's all fine and dandy. He can recognize he made a mistake and not do this thing publicly. That is exhausting and just a terrible look for everybody. I would rather the NFL just make a waiver and make this thing happen already than to hear about it for yet another NFL season.
He got 10 games of Aiden O'Connell last year. That will make you miss Aaron Rodgers.
Wasn't he productive with O'Connell,
Yeah,
though?
no,
he's been good through all this. That's interesting about it.
He just hasn't been, relevant in ways that Aaron made him relevant.
Still good in
And
fantasy.
Still good, consistently week to week, as good. No, consistent in being able to count on this quarterback will force feed me. Keep in mind, a lot of things about the Packers maybe opened up with Aaron not force-feeding the ball to Davante Adams every play. And Packers are doing best out of anybody in that equation. They are doing great right now. They are a sneaky pick to win the conference.
Everyone I have talked to is floored by how good Jordan Love is and is going to be.
And the wide receiver core, too, has come online. You kind of look back on it. Maybe they should have made this move a year earlier.
That last season, the Derek Carr played with Davante Adams. Adams actually had a career high in targets and had 14 touchdowns, which is the second most he's ever had. But last year, playing with O'Connell, after Derek Carr now is no longer the quarterback that he initially went there for, all those issues of still wanting to play with Aaron Rodgers, understandably, kind of come back to the surface, because when you're getting 180 targets in a season, it's tough to complain.
I'm genuinely confused as to what Jordan Love will be used as a case study for, because you could use him as an argument for, see, that's why you sit a guy. This is the Carson Palmer, John Kitna thing. This is the Aaron Rodgers thing. That's exactly why you sit a guy. But I'm also looking at it as no, this guy clearly needed to play, because early on, he stunk. We were wondering if that was a terrible decision, and we were openly spitting into microphones. How could you betray Aaron this way? You need to give him weapons. I think he needed to play more.
Okay, and very easy to say from this position. You would have been benching an MVP. You can't bench an MVP quarterback in order to play Jordan Love.
I still maintain the Packers in that moment, while he was MVP in 2021, I think, Aaron Rodgers, that's a championship window. And yes, you're set up now to compete for championships later on. You owe it to that guy in that title window to give him something to help him win, and they didn't do it.
You have heard me for, I think, probably 10 years quote Chris Bosh, because I thought it was hugely insightful. Chris Bosh, who was unusually sensitive, vulnerable, communicative, and just really good at introspection, said, after being here for a while, You do not know what the sacrifices feel like that you're making until you're actually making them. A-Rod did not choose the money to be in last place. He chose the money and thought he was going to go make a last place team great. Davante Adams didn't choose to leave Aaron Rodgers because he thought he was choosing losing over money. He thought he was going to take the winning with him. And to me, you get 10 games of Aiden O'Connell and you're like, okay, blackjack dealer, I'm good. I'm good. Get me out of here. We're not going to compete for a championship. Get me to some place that felt like I used to feel when I got all the targets, all the catches, and I was relevant.
What's interesting is, like, he doesn't have a terrible situation right now in Las Vegas. I mean, I understand you're longing for Aaron Rodgers. We have a load of questions. It's now been a while since we've seen Aaron Rodgers be that guy that force-fed you the ball and made you great. Las Vegas isn't that much worse of a situation than New York because I don't have the same kind of questions for them. They were really feisty at the end of the year. They have a new head coach over there that they very clearly love, and he's got a quarterback in Gardner Minshew that's going to air it out. If you could listen to me, Devontae, maybe try to embrace it. This isn't all that bad.
Two great quarterbacks. Good depth.
Roy,
Minshew will take your team to the promised land. Well, not the promised land.
he
He'll take
won't.
you 3 steps from the promised land.
Their promised land is like, hey, let's be the wild card. Let's
Yeah.
be feisty. Minshew is fully capable of taking
Minshew
you
can
to
do
that
that.
promised
Where will
land.
Minshew take you?
Put it
on the poll.
No, at Le Batard Show. You can't do it that way, Chris. It's a terrible poll question. Where will Minshew take you? Just make it this. Will Minshew take you within 3 acres of the promised land? Roy, where is Stugotz?
Seems like he's bothering the video crew right now. He's force-feeding lines to be added to the YouTube right now. So
Are they all spelled correctly?
probably not.
That would be a sign.
He also told me that the reason that Seth Rogen was dressed like that is because he's doing a biopic of Jerry Garcia. Then we
What?
looked it up and we found out he's not. That's Jonah Hill.
Oh. Wow.
But that happens.
That does happen.
I feel like Gardner Minshew is like the Uber driver that takes you to like right around the barrier that you can get to when streets are blocked off for a big event.
And then even though he can drive you further, just for convenience, he's like, I think you got to get out here.
He'll get you like a block away from the barrier to a big event.
Really?
He won't get you to the big event. You still got to walk to the big event, probably like half a mile, but he'll take you like within a block of the perimeter of the big event.
I hate that move. I am always like, I'm staying. You can drive me.
No, I like to walk. to
I think
find
he's the
person.
opposite. I think he's like, they're telling us to get out of here, but he might be the type of guy that would pose a national security threat just because he's like, no, trust me on this one. We can get around this barricade.
But he still won't get you there. He'll probably get you further away, if anything.
No,
Yeah.
it'll be trust me, I can get us there, and then the car explodes because he couldn't.
But he'll
get
tell you to
there.
get out kindly. He's like, as Secret Service is, converging on the car, he'd be like, I got this. You go ahead.
He'll lie to Secret Service about who you are.
Yeah.
He'll be like, I got someone really important back here. I got to get through there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're in there. He's like, I told you it'd work.
That's a move that worked. When I went to the Stanley Cup final, I was like, my app took a crap, but I took a car service because I was so sure the Panthers were going to win the Stanley Cup that day. Boy, was I wrong. And I was just like scrolling forever. My app just like took a total dump there. And I was in this like SUV, and the driver just goes, a guy like, I have a very important client in the back. And they're like, oh, go ahead.
What's the difference between a car service and just like an Uber or a Lyft?
Money?
Alcohol and TV screens.
Yeah.
And the car service is at your disposal the entire time.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I thought, man, this night can get wild. Who knows where this night ends? And it ended with me looking at my bank account and saying, what have I done?
Do you realize when, I don't know if this happens to you guys, it does happen to me with a good amount of self-awareness that sort of makes me take inventory of things I don't usually take inventory of. When your apps crash or you can't get internet service, do you realize the level of your addiction to technology that makes you sad about like, well, I need to correct this.
Yeah.
My itchiness about I can't do anything without this phone that leads me everywhere.
It's a hopeless feeling.
Do you ever have that moment where you've lost Wi-Fi connection and you're like, nothing's working, and then you flip down, you take Wi-Fi off, and your phone like comes back to life.
Comes back alive.
You
It's incredible.
see the life of like the internet uploading. You're like, yes, hourglass fill.
So
What a moment when you see that phone of just like, ooh, now I can read again. Like
Mike, when your app falls apart, does it become illuminated?
Well, that app has fallen apart like once before, so I have since learned, like, if this thing's going to need a power cycle, let me do this. And that one's on me because I don't have the excuse of I was driving and that's how I forgot, because that's happened to me when I've been behind the wheel of a car and then I've got like 17 people, I've got a traffic jam, I'm sweating, and then I have to wait for the phone to power back up because, as far as technologies come, the workaround for everything seems to be what you used to do with your old school Nintendo system.
Just hit it on the
power
side.
cycle, maybe blow
on the
inside of
cartridge,
it,
yeah.
even though they say it doesn't work. Bullshit, it works.
Speaking of apps, I realized coming back from Tampa that I am a great Wazer. Like, I am good. I don't just think about myself. I think about the people behind me. Because, in Waze, it's like, oh, there's a car pulled up on the shoulder here. Is it still there? That's the easy one of yes or no. If it's not marked and I'm like, oh, there's a hazard right there. Boom, you hit the hazard. What kind of hazard is it? Oh, it's a car on the shoulder. Boom, I click that.
Thank you for your
Nobody
service.
is better at that than I am. But it got me thinking because I'm driving and I'm like, oh, there's a cop up there a mile away. I wonder, do cops, when they're on Waze, are they like putting no to help their brother out?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, hey, my brother's up there. I don't want anyone to see he's there. No, I don't see a cop car there. And then all of a sudden that thing disappears. And he radios them. He's like, hey, you were on Waze. I just cleared you. Beep, beep, over.
Lying. So they're working together.
I mean, it's
Cops lying?
If I was
When
a
would they
cop,
do that?
I mean, if you're a cop, you hate Waze. It's like I got this beautiful
You're
spot
telling on
behind
me.
this bush, and now all of a sudden every car knows I'm here. I would
think-
hope that my brothers in arms are like, I got you, brother.
I think if a cop is using Waze and it says there's a cop in the area, he always has to hit yes because he's a cop in the area. It's like the thing if like you're undercover and you say, "Are you a cop?" You are obligated to by law say yes, I'm a cop. That's how it works.
Put it on the poll, please. Do cops hate Waze?
Oh, I love Waze, man. If it's like, ooh, there's an object in the middle of the road in a quarter of a mile, that next quarter of a mile, I'm like, first one to find it wins. Me and my wife are like, where is it? Where is it? Oh, that little piece of tire right there. I found it. Still there. Boom. Nothing feels better than doing. It's like being on a jury. You just feel like you are doing your part.
Have you been on a jury?
No, I want to. I told my
It's
wife
terrible.
that. I want jury duty.
Why?
You can take mine.
How do I request it?
Take mine,
I want
please.
like a month-long trial.
No, you don't.
I want to be an important person. I want to be the lead jury. What's a person like the lead person called?
foreman?
I want to be the foreman.
Yeah.
Or floorman. All right.
Foreman.
All right. I want to be that guy. I feel like if I was on a jury, they would keep me. They would look at me and just be like, and I would lie because I feel like if I said this job,
Okay, stop.
if I said this job, they would be like, get him out of here. Like that's you're in the public.
Why do you think
have
that is?
Right? I mean, because
Because we're in the public?
Because if you have a platform, I feel like they would just be like, we don't want that noise. I would just be like, I don't have a job. I'm fully committed to being here.
I don't think you. I mean, I don't know if that's a crime or not, but it sounds like a crime. I don't think you could just go to jury duty and start lying.
Well,
about
most people
things.
lie for the other way. They're like, how could I get out of this? I'm trying to lie to get in it.
Well, the problem with this, Chris, many problems, but the main problem with it is that, the lawyers for each side are trying to pick people that they think will be dependable. So if you're just acting completely irrationally like a wild card, neither side will think this is someone that will work out for me.
Billy
They
boy.
won't know where you're going to go.
I'll be cool as a cucumber.
As a what?
Cool as a cucumber.
How are you
Okay.
going to do? What is your move? What do you say?
Just lean back with
How do you
my
get
arm on the
selected? Because I'm in a situation where I have been I've been sent a jury summons for the third time in a year. And I thought, this is impossible. I even served on a jury. It's impossible. I got hit by the big three. I got civil, I got criminal, and now I have federal. So, none of them offset each other. So all of them are still good. So I keep getting hit with you need
That's
to come.
bad luck.
It's terrible
Yeah,
luck.
you're not
And-
resetting the general timeline.
Well, here's the thing is that this time I'm going to be out of town, but I can't get anyone on the phone to explain to them I'm going to be out of town. So I had to do an online thing, and I'm trying to click I'm not even trying to entirely get out of it. Let's just postpone it a month so I should be good. And I can't find anyone to talk to. So this is a problem because this is in a couple weeks. So I'm trying to figure out how to get out of it. And I don't think that if I could get a substitute in Chris, I would love for Chris to go and be my substitute in this situation. But it doesn't seem like it's possible.
I realized because I'm a junior that between the time that I was eligible for jury duty and the time that I moved out, all the jury summons came in as Roy Bellamy, so I didn't know if it was me or my father. So I was like, hey, it's my dad. I don't have to go to these things.
So
Go
what
ahead,
do you,
Dad.
what's your plan, Chris, when you get there? Sorry, Roy, I thought that you were done.
No,
Yeah, I'm done.
My plan is just I'm into it. I'm into the process.
No,
I
but
wanna
what are you
get-
going to say when they ask you questions?
Well, I
What
think
do
you want to
say?
give if you want to give off a combination of I mean business and I'm going to take this serious and you're not too into it. So I'll have like my body language will give off relax, but my eyes will give laser focus. So I'm kind of like playing with my beard. You want to come off a little sexy. You just kind of lean back, but my eyes don't leave the attorney. Like I am locked in.
Which
Is this you
one?
is this you coming off a little sexy?
Which
yeah,
side?
You lean back.
I don't think it's working.
Which side are you
play
looking
with
at?
the beard a little bit.
Defense
Whoever's
or-
talking. Like I'm moving. I'm side to side. I'm like ping pong. Whoever's talking. Who needs
I
me?
knew the moment.
Who needs me?
I knew the moment that I was getting
I
dismissed
work in a
the
who
last
needs me,
time.
for
I
sure.
knew exactly what I did to get dismissed. It was because they were going around and we were talking about so this was not criminal. This was like civil or whatever. So it was like a lawsuit. And this was a batch of I don't know, like 80 or 100 potential jurors. It was huge. Normally it's like 12 of us and they pick 6. So your odds aren't that good. This was like an all day affair and there was like 80 people and they had to whittle it down to 12. And I didn't survive I guess I survived the first 2 cuts, so I'm still in there, and I know oh, this isn't gonna go well. And then you have the people I'm really excited. It was like the Chris Codys of the group. I really want to do this. I'm really eager to do this.
The Whittinghams.
Yeah, but they were also saying things that if I could give them advice, you're not saying things that are gonna get you selected. You're being too forthright here.
I object.
You're giving off the wild card vibe. You're very excitable and you really want to be part of this, but you're also giving off unreliable here. And I don't think that they're going to select you because you're giving them too much wiggle room. They need to know where you're going to stand before they select you. So it got to me.
Overruled.
And what was going on was it was it was a case where it was I think it was an insurance claim or something was going on, right? And there wasn't an actual witness to the claim, but they were bringing in witnesses that were paid witnesses that were experts on whatever the field was. So then they're like, does anyone have any questions? And the question that I asked was
Sustained.
Well, I mean, if this person is getting paid and they're a witness, wouldn't you just pay a witness to come in that's going to say exactly what you want them to say and present your case?
I'm for sale.
It's their opinion. It's not an actual fact. They're not actual witnesses. And then I saw the defense attorney kind of perk up and look at the other defense attorney, and they were like, that might be our guy. And then I saw the plaintiff, or whatever the words are, look at me, and they're like, that is not our guy. And I said, I think that did it. I think that did, because then the judge is like, yes, that could be one way to look at it, but not necessarily the case. And I was like, I'll just stop talking now.
I'll see myself out.
I think I should honestly just got up at that moment, I'm good.
You should do the thing that you
See
do
you
on the
later.
show, I'll leave.
I know we're good. Penalty box? And they're like, what the fuck is a penalty box?
Can I approach the bench?
You should please say that. Ask the judge to approach the bench.
The branch.
Yeah, that's the one.
Damn it.
Absolutely.
Caught that.
Chris Cody, why is it that you spoke there with all of your legal terms as both the attorney and the judge, not a juror?
You want to just show them that you know the
Well,
way it
didn't
works.
you used to work at a law office? Do you ever tell them that? Or you keep that away because you don't want them thinking you're too smart because you're almost
Have
a lawyer?
keep that bad boy in your back
Yeah, I'm not
pocket
gonna
because
say
that can
that.
get you out when you don't want to be
Right.
there.
Chris Cody appearing to be too smart, you think
Yeah.
is a way to go?
Yes. Let me tell you something. Jury polls, not the best of the best, exactly.
Billy, you said
flourish.
something during the segment. You said you couldn't get anybody on the phone. Can you for anything? Can you? I'm dead serious about this. You've heard me lament before the way that customer service has collapsed all over the place just because we're now addicted to the technology and human beings don't have to answer the phone. But can you guys get anybody on the phone for anything?
I finally was able to get someone on the phone. You know, they told me, oh, you got to do that online. And then they just gave me a website to go to do it. I'm like,
Every company has like their answering machine before they get you to someone. If you know you can do this online, hey, you big dum dum, you go to blah blah blah.com and you can do all of this. But if you'd like to talk to someone, sit there and press 0.
The number of times, I don't need to tell you, that I'm ordering food and I'm talking to somebody and they're like, can't take your order this way. I'm like, what do you mean? You got to do it by phone.
That one's on you. I mean, what are you doing?
I don't want to do it by phone.
You want to do the old school? Can I get the orange chicken, please?
Yes.
With the white rice.
Yes. Yes.
You can do it on an app.
I don't want to do it that way.
Well, you can save some money doing it that way.
I don't want to do it that way.
Saving money Dan's way.
I'm not looking to save money. I'm looking to save time.
Well, you're just a boomer at that point.
He's the co-host of Pod Save America, the host of Pod Save the World. He's part of the Crooked Media Empire. He co-founded it. He's speaking to us from Milwaukee, where he's covering the Republican National Convention this week. It seems a little bit crazy. He also did a South Beach session that you can still find from June of 2023 that I enjoyed. Tommy Vitor is with us. Thank you for joining us. And I will ask, I guess, a complicated and simple question off the bat. How are you?
Hey, Dan, it's good to see you. Yeah, look, I think we all need this this coked up news cycle to just chill out a bit, relax. Everyone stop making news. We got Joe Biden getting COVID. We got an assassination attempt. We have the worst debate performance in 2 weeks. So it's just, it's been a whirlwind couple of weeks. And I don't know, who knows when it's slowing down.
Whirlwind that feels like a whirl week because everything is moving very quickly. And one of the speakers tonight is Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, apparently. Who knew?
What are we doing?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
Okay, well, tell me what it's like there. We sent someone out there and they couldn't get close to anybody. There was we were just trying to do some man on the street stuff that would be funny, and the restrictions were so large that we couldn't get close to doing anything that resembled media.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a million reasons why, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump on Saturday was a horrible thing. I mean, on just a human level, it's like one of the most frightening things I've ever seen. I don't care how much you dislike your political opponent, but violence is not justified, in part because violence tends to lead to more violence. And once you start, it's very hard to stop. But also just, for people in politics, it just creates more and more and more distance between the people who represent us and the people who are just citizens. And that's true for the media. It's true for folks like, me walking around Milwaukee today. So yeah, it's completely locked down. We're going to go over to the site today, try to just talk to people on the street, just kind of get a sense of why they're there, what's going on, how people feel in this moment. But, mostly the theme, the feeling coming out of the RNC so far is a convention full of people who think the election is over, basically, and that they've already won.
How do you think the coverage and response has been handled to the assassination attempt?
I mean, early on, it was pretty irresponsible. Donald Trump's vice presidential selection, J.D. Vance, immediately tweeted that this shooting was the result of Joe Biden's rhetoric. There was absolutely no evidence of that then. There's no evidence of that now. The more we learn about this person whose name I'm not going to say, is that he was looking for Googling images of lots of political figures, Biden, Trump, Christopher Wray, the former FBI director, the Princess of Wales. So he seems like a disturbed person who told a bunch of his gamer friends he was going to do something big on the 14th. He had depression. So who knows? We're figuring it out. But yeah, I mean, it's horrifying. It's horrifying, the whole thing.
Let me make a little lighter the subject matter that we're talking about by just putting in front of you a couple of things and asking for you to tell me which is the funnier of these two things. The first thing I'm going to show you is Jim Justice of West Virginia, the politician who the words aren't funny, but the pan out comedically afterward feels like something out of Parks and Rec. Let's go ahead and play that first for Tommy Vitor.
Bottom line to every single thing that's going on in this great country today is one thing. We become totally unhinged if Donald Trump is not elected in November.
It's just so good. It's so good. And I ask you if it's better than this reaction from Alec Baldwin in the middle of all the Alec Baldwin stuff that has him going theatrical with body language work.
I really appreciated the acting that he did on Saturday Night Live, and I really appreciate his politics.
You told one of the witnesses who disagreed with you during an interview that you thought Mr. Baldwin was a sucker.
I do not recall saying that.
All right, I guess
I love this country.
I guess we have your choice. I guess you like the second one better than the first one.
Well, I mean, listen, I think that every every political speech should have just a dog chilling next to you riding shotgun. That's wants to be the governor of West Virginia running for Senate. He's wildly popular in part because of this big sweet, chunky bulldog. I think the dog's name is Baby Dog, that he brings everywhere. And it's like, I don't know, he's basically Carrot Top for politics. He's doing prop comedy there. I totally support it. But yeah, I mean, that moment with Baldwin is incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Tommy, vibes can be morphed by social media and television coverage. Right now, vibes really bad around the Democratic Party, while vibes are really good around the Republican Party. But ratings are down for the RNC about 20%. And we made this mistake with Hillary where we thought social media was actually reality, and we didn't see the actual election results coming. Now, X is owned by a massive donor and endorser of Donald Trump. How much of this really solid momentum for the Republican Party is actually just constructed by those things around us?
That's such a good question and such a good point. I do think it's easy for those of us who are really plugged into social media or, watch the news or politics closely to feel like things are constantly changing, when I think the reality is the biggest disconnect in this country is between people who are kind of politically obsessed and people who just don't pay any attention. They don't watch the news. They don't care about politics. They barely know who the vice president is. And that's not because they're bad people or they're ill-informed. It's because they got 3 kids and they're trying to get to soccer practice and they're trying to pay the bills, right? They're just living their lives. So I do think that social media and the algorithms can create this bubble of distortion that can change how people feel. I also think that 4 months is a lifetime in politics. Like, I think when the Access Hollywood video came out in 2016, people like me were like, oh, this campaign is over. There's no way Trump can recover from this. And then he did. So we'll see what happens between now and November. A lot of things could change.
There was an article I read that referred to what's going on in certain social media circles as the Zinternet. And I've seen firsthand Republican operatives kind of shaping narratives with influencers and lifestyle accounts, both on the local and national level. And I'm wondering, are these people that are having a go in the internet is different than it was several years ago? There's a lot of pro-Trump sentiment. Can you actually count on the Zinternet to be involved in politics when their whole thing is not really, everything's a joke, nothing really matters, it's all social currency?
That's another really good question. I mean, I saw a tweet yesterday that said that the toilets at the RNC look like a mass grave for Zins. They're just like full to the brim with little pouches everywhere. So yeah, the internet is strong and it's happening IRL. I do think the Trump campaign has done something very smart. They have a strategy which is reaching out to young men of all colors, Black, Latino, everybody, white, sort of the Barstool Sports crowd. And they're doing that through a really smart, deliberate way. He's going to MMA fights and walking in with Dana White. He's going on, he's hanging out with Jake and Logan Paul. He's doing the Nelk Boys podcast, right? So he's reaching those young men who, frankly, in a lot of cases, especially young Black men, the Democratic Party has taken their vote for granted a lot of times and not spent enough time trying to persuade them or actually deliver for them and prove to them that we've earned their vote. And they're trying to peel off some of those young men. So I think the question is always, what are you persuading people? Are they actually going to turn out, or are they just posting about how the photo of Trump, holding up his fist after getting shot was cool and iconic and tough? I don't like Donald Trump. I'll be the first one to admit that having the political instinct after getting shot in the ear to stand up and raise your fist is like a feral political genius. There's no other way to describe it.
No, there is another way to describe it. Desperation to stay out of prison, I would say. It's like right. I would say that I could describe it that way. Yes.
That's true, Dan.
We will get to that in a second, but Chris, you know where we are right now. I've never seen this happen before in our show. This is a heat check. We need to get out of the way and get Mike Ryan the ball.
He's gotten 2 That's a Great questions in a row.
Can he get 3?
It's
never happened.
It's never been done.
It's never happened. I haven't heard it in the media. I haven't heard it around here. Can you get 3 straight? That's a great question.
Don't just give it away here either.
Don't give it away.
Make
him earn it. Play some defense.
Man. I wanted to walk away from the table with my winnings. I was feeling good about myself. I'll try. Here's the heat check. Okay. Next week is the DNC, right? So it stands to reason if a decision is made on whether or not Joe Biden will indeed be the candidate on the ballot, it has to happen before the DNC, right? They can't just come around after, announce that he's a nominee. It'd be too late at that point. So if something happens with Joe Biden and this race, will it happen in the next couple of days?
Yeah, that question was adequate. I think
It's fair. It's fair. It wasn't amazing.
Wasn't amazing, though. Wasn't amazing.
that was the dumbest question.
I wanted to ask you about getting Bam Adebayo some help, like maybe some shooters around the side.
Listen, I'm a Celtics fan, so I'm just walking on air right now. The problem right now is that this is one person's decision, and it's Joe Biden's. And so there's all these reports today that leaders in the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, senators, members of Congress have gone to him and said, sir, we're seeing all these polls. Not only are you going to lose, but we could get wiped out in these Senate races and the House. That's not how you want your legacy to go down. I think you have to imagine yourself in Joe Biden's shoes. He's 81 years old. He has wanted this job his entire life. He got it. He thinks he's doing a good job. And now people are essentially trying to like take the keys away from him. And I think he probably feels like not only is that unfair on some level, but that like a piece of him is dying. You know, like this was your life's purpose and you can no longer do it. Now, I have empathy for that. But at the end of the day, we're all citizens. He's just another one, right? And so I don't care more about his feelings and loyalty than I do to the future of the country. And I'm deeply worried about our ability to win if Joe Biden's the nominee.
If you want no bullshit conversation on politics and news without boring you to death, I would suggest that you listen and subscribe to Pod Save the World. New episodes every Wednesday, and Pod Save America. New episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays, wherever it is that you get your podcast. On your way out the door, do you have any feeling, I don't know how successful you are at these things, or what your history looks like on being able to predict stuff 4 months out. But given where we presently are, which I imagine looks unprecedented to you from every angle, because I don't understand how we've gotten to the extremities of where it is that we've gotten to, where both sides are looking at the other side and seeing existential fear for freedom, democracy, and America. You think what's going to happen here over the next 4 months?
So, Dan, I suck at predicting. Your listeners should fade me if you are into gambling. I feel like the momentum is moving towards Joe Biden not being the nominee. I would put it at like 70%. I think that when there's just a critical mass of Democratic members coming out and saying you have to go, it's hard to, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The question then is who comes next? Odds are it's Kamala Harris, but the Democratic Party could say, okay, let's try to have sort of an open mini convention. Unfortunately, then you run into a bunch of challenges with deadlines that involve like literal, like getting enough signatures written down to get names on ballots. So that will be a compressed kind of crazy period of time. Right now, I think this is Donald Trump's election to lose. He's winning in every swing state in a poll that came out yesterday. But a new candidate could completely upend things. And there's some polling that suggests that almost every alternative would do better against Donald Trump than Joe Biden would right now, just because of concerns about his age. So I suck at predicting. I ducked your question, but right now it looks like Trump would win.
Tommy, thank you for being on with us. Appreciate the insight.
Thank you, guys.
So, Mike, I hate to break this to you, but your adequate question actually may have turned out to be a bad question because the DNC is not next week. It's in August.
That's totally fair. I've had a weird relationship with space and time over the last few days
College
and
football
weeks.
25?
Well, also mentally, I am in week 4 of the college football season. I'm in like light jacket weather at this point. There was one day where I took a shit in 3 different states in the same day, which was a personal record for me. I've been all over this great land over the last few days, and it's all kind of catching up with me.
Next week to you is like mid-October.
Yeah, and like in the movies, I'm being transported to like the late 90s. So like I'm just all over the place. And also I'm fighting what is a general pushback on being involved in the public domain when it comes to politics. So this show will kind of force it, and I have to realize I have to be publicly responsible. But my first notion after the horrible acts of the last weekend were, I don't have the stomach for this anymore. I want to check out on all of it. The temperature on this is just way too high. And like Tommy said, like once you start going down this road of violence, which started with January 6th and the attack on the Pelosi's, and now hopefully it's a crescendo on the attempt on Donald Trump's life, it just seems as though we're on a very dangerous track, and I just kind of want to opt out of it.
It doesn't seem like we're on a very dangerous track.
It seems like we're on a more dangerous path somehow, which is really, really terrifying to me.
We are just beginning where the terror starts, because I think we've escalated into what are unprecedented times. The last thing Tommy Vitor just said is a sentence that at any time in my life would have been unfathomable, when he says it looks like Trump will win, with the litany of things that are on that side of the ledger. And once upon a time, Howard Dean ruined a presidential campaign for this position by being unpresidential with a sound.
Not only are we going to New Hampshire, we're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. We're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
I have a theory as to why things are so bad, because if you look at the things that matter historically, the economy, unemployment rates, hell, even the stock market, or even the midterm elections, in which we were all told and all convinced that a red wave was coming, and then Joe Biden, as an incumbent, had probably the greatest midterm cycle of any politician. It's like, why is he losing so badly if he has all these things that actually matter? And what I got down to is the Democratic Party won pretty much on a platform of that cross for me on this dais right now is not normal. The last 4 years have not been normal. Not you, Billy. I'm saying I'm pointing to Donald Trump. And
a vote for Biden is just a vote for, I will not vote for that.
Yeah, like not Trump. Essentially won by record numbers and had the highest point total of all time, because the American public was exhausted by the craziness of those 4 years. So here's my theory as to why things around Joe Biden are so bad while everything that actually matters is supposed to be good. It's because when you campaign and you champion that you are the party of normalcy, you can't ignore the deficiencies that are deteriorating right before our eyes right now. If you keep trudging along with this candidate, you yourself are suspending reality in failing to acknowledge it. So when you start being a party that is not acting normally, that is not subscribing to this is a qualified candidate that represents the best of us, and it is a polar opposite of what we see there, when by comparison on this debate you make a felon, someone who is not really in touch with reality, seem that much more with it than you are in deep trouble.
There are a number of things here, okay, and I will not pretend to be any kind of political expert. I am just a citizen like everyone else here who's scared, and I think we can all agree that we're just scared of everything that's happening everywhere. But it is an act of marketing and mythology and miracle that a bullet would turn a felon into a martyr without killing him. And that where we are, where it regards Trump and Biden, is, I believe, whoever would be in charge right now, because of the way big money has contaminated everything and everyone, Biden included, because his climate shit is terrible when you start talking about the oil money, too. Big money has contaminated all of it, that I believe the voting public, whoever's in charge right now, is angry and working in an economy that makes everyone else have the money more than ever except for them. And so whoever's in charge when that happens, when gas prices are so high that you're angry and upset because you can't afford $6 a gallon, whoever's in charge of that is the one that's going to get the wrath. I just simply can't believe, and I've been asking this for 4 years, how did it get so bad that these are our best options? Like, there are no good options.
But you're espousing something that the Republican Party is counting on. You just said that, like, people are frustrated because the wealthy are getting wealthier. Look at the numbers. Look at what one party will do with wealth. Look at the unemployment numbers right now. Job numbers are incredible. The economy is actually working. Just because you can't get a $5 footlong anymore doesn't mean that. But it can just be that simple. And if you see the media coverage, in which we are absolutely a contributor to, yes, the reaction to Biden and him not having his mental faculties the way that we're used to seeing is outweighed. Donald Trump was seemingly falling asleep multiple times now at the RNC, and it does not matter. If it happened to Biden, it would matter. And it's all because the Democratic Party has always been the party of normalcy when it's juxtaposed by Donald Trump. When you seem as crazy and as detached, you then amplify the normalcy that seems to be there with people that have already made him a martyr, and the bullet just signified that he is actually potentially one because you have a bandage on his ear to prove it. He already made himself a political martyr before the assassination attempt.
When you talk about political frustrations generally when it comes to the rich getting richer, you know, in the United States, we normally have about 50-year shifts in each direction economically. We go to the left for about 50 years, then we shift to the right for about 50 years. And since Ronald Reagan, our country has been shifting generally further and further and further to the right. Just because we elected a black president doesn't mean that we were shifting to the left. Obama's economics himself, Biden's economics, are actually further to the right than the left-leaning presidents were earlier in the 19th century. You now look at a time where you feel that level of frustration. In a lot of ways, the Democrats should have been sort of talking about an even further shift to the left than what they're doing in this standard of normalcy, because you have things like inflation going the way that they are. You have things like these companies that we see sort of running everything and the money within politics. That is where the frustration could be alleviated. And ordinarily, that's what would happen. But because of this extreme last-second move into a right that favors authoritarianism, the left is seemingly picking up the pieces in comparison.
I don't understand, I really don't, how it is that I'm someone who vastly underestimated all of this stuff. So the extremities could be so extreme that your choices are between someone who appears to be dying and someone who can't be killed. Like, it's not too much to ask the incumbent to be able to coherently finish thoughts. It's not too big an ask. And for all of this stuff that we're discussing, that we can discuss all of the issues, sometimes whether it's Howard Dean and a sound that he makes, or it's a debate where you see the president can't finish a thought, it can come down to the one thing. Like, I don't trust that to be presidential. I don't trust that. Do you know how? I did not know. This is how amateur I am with some things as they regard politics. I did not know of a hypothetical situation that I could put in front of you that would involve an incumbent running for office and us pretty much being uniform and like, man, they got to get Biden out of there. They got to get Biden out of there, even though it's not about the job that he's done. It's just like, yeah, can't finish thoughts and stumbles around. Too old. Like, did you guys know that there would be did you guys create the hypothetical scenario before this one where you would knock out an incumbent toward the end of the race just because he's old? Get him out of there.
That's sort of my frustration with the mentality in general. I would implore people, when you think about this, ultimately, you're not voting for an individual. You're voting for an administration. You're voting for everybody that's in it, and you've seen what the Biden administration has done. I, as someone that's further, like personally, you all know it. You've heard me talk about it. I'm further left. I'd like Biden to be doing more progressive things than he's done. I can sort of have attacks on their administration from that angle. But from someone who might be down the middle, who's trying to decide, and you're frustrated by Biden being old, just think about the administration that you're voting for. Think about, in any scenario, you want something to get done, whether it's from the left or from the right. Who do you want your opposition to be? Who do you think will work with you? Who do you think will actually put you in a position to be able to get something done that you want? I know for me, like 100 times out of 100, that's going to be Joe Biden.
I like this guy. How'd you poop in 3 states on the same day? Was it like a Four Corners Monument thing, or like you just had the runs that day?
So I could have, if I wanted to, if the flight wasn't so early, I could have pulled off 4
How?
states in one day. So here's what it was. I left from Florida.
One.
And I got to Arizona. My flight had been
2.
canceled. So I'm hanging
Cancel
around
culture.
I'm hanging around the airport in Arizona for longer than I planned to be. You know, took a shit in Arizona. Then I get a flight to Nevada, to Reno, Nevada, and I get to the hotel that is right on the border on California. So I took a shit once I landed in Nevada, and then to close the night, tummy was a little uncomfortable, took a shit in California, which was across the street from Nevada. It could have been 4. I could have shit in 4 states.
That's a great platform.